Hello and welcome to this edition of What the Hell Just Happened, the vlog that sees the weekly news cycle as a beautifully wrapped gift. I'm your host, Martin Ganipoler. Let's rip open this sucker and see what's inside. This week, the online news magazine BuzzFeed published a story asserting that Michael Cohen, the dipshit Ray Donovan of Long Island, had been directed by the current sitting president to lie to Congress about Trump's long-gestating Moscow Tower deal with Putin and the Russian oligarchs. This story has not yet been corroborated by any other news service, and in a rare move by Mueller's office, was at least partially repudiated yesterday. But if it is true, this is a felony act by the president to suborn perjury of a witness to a governmental investigative body. And this alone would be grounds for impeachment. But let's not start smacking each other's on the butts and rubbing noses just yet. Right now, this information amounts to a he said situation in which both parties are known to be serial liars. So there's that. Cohen will testify to the Congressional Oversight Committee on February 7th. His testimony may be limited to his involvement in his campaign shenanigans alone, so it may not be particularly revelatory. But what will give this story impact is if there's documentary evidence like emails, texts, and phone recordings that back it up. And do you know who has any and all of that evidence, if it exists? Right, Robert Mueller, hence his statement on Friday. But here's the kicker. William Barr, the Trump-nominated candidate for Attorney General, has said in his confirmation hearings that, if confirmed, he, and only he, will decide what parts of the Mueller report will be shared with Congress or the American people. Naturally, Rudy Giuliani gleefully took to Fox News to offer his incredibly tortuous circular argument that this never happened, and if it did happen, it wasn't illegal. And if it was illegal, it didn't involve the president. And if it did involve the president, he was unaware of it at the time. Oy. He concluded by saying, quote, "If you believe Cohen, I can get you a good all-cash deal on the Brooklyn Bridge," end quote. I bet he can, too. I'm pretty sure his client would sell the bridge if he could just to pay his legal fees. So here we are again. As this story develops, I'll give you the scoop when I get it. And now we present another installment of the segment we call, Why the Hell Are You Still Here?, in which we profile a disgustingly unfit member of our government. This week, we look at Republican Congressman Steve King of Iowa. In his more than 2 decades of political life, Steve has been a busy boy. King is a vicious opponent of immigration and multiculturalism. He's had a long history of racist and anti-immigrant rhetoric. When he isn't sponsoring hardcore right-wing gatherings in Iowa, King takes the time to speak about the glory of white supremacist ideas, specifically against Jews, African Americans, and Latinos. He's also a great supporter of neo-Nazis, like David Duke and European politician Marine Le Pen of France. For much of King's time in the Congress, Republican Party politicians and officials were closed-mouthed about his racism, and frequently palled around and campaigned with him because white people really seem to adore him, and it's, Iowa. But recently, the National Republican Congressional Committee withdrew funding for King's re-election campaign and condemned King's conduct after a January 29 interview in which Big Steve asked why terms such as white nationalism and white supremacy were considered offensive. Gee, I really don't know, Steve. Maybe you should look into that. When King's not busy being a racist spokesman, he takes the time to oppose the LGBTQ community, tries to repeal the Affordable Care Act, characterizes climate change as junk science, and works to ban the right of women to control their own bodies. What's really puzzling is why it took the Republican leadership so long to ask the same question that I now ask. Steve King, why the hell are you still here? And let's not fool ourselves into thinking that Representative King is a fringe actor or some anomaly in Congress. Because guess what the hell just happened this week on the floor of the House of Representatives? Well, as Democratic Representative Tony Cardenas was at the podium addressing Congress, another colleague, Republican Jason Smith, yelled at him, telling him to go back to Puerto Rico, which is interesting because Congressman Cardenas is of Mexican-American heritage. But let's face it, racism never needs to be factual. It just has to feel right. Following this outburst after denying that he meant what he said, Congressman Smith did apologize for the statement. To Cardenas' credit, he accepted the apology and said, "There's a saying that I was taught by my parents. Todo lo malo siempre sale algo bueno," which in English means, from everything bad, something good will come of it. Well said, Congressman. I'm guessing a lot of good will come to us soon, because there sure is a lot of bad going around. Thanks for watching this week's episode of What the Hell Just Happened. We'll be back here again looking for the good stuff on what might be the 36th day of government shutdown. Bye for now.